Hey guys, it's Phil from Aussie Garage and I'm here with Joe at this iconic location with an iconic car. So we'll get stuck into it and we'll have a chat with Joe about his car. So Joe, tell us about your ride, mate.
Great, Phil. My car is a 1962 XL Ford Falcon Deluxe station wagon.
Awesome.
It was purchased brand new by my grandfather in March 1963.
Yep.
And it's been in the family ever since. And just recently I've completed a full restoration project on it, which has taken me the best part of 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, awesome. And obviously we're at this iconic location.
Yep.
So what do you know about this location right now that we're here?
Okay. This building is, we're in North Fremantle on Stirling Highway in front of the old Ford factory. So this building was built by Ford in 1929 to commence local production of the Model A Ford. And it continued as a Ford factory all the way to 1987. In the later years it was used more as a pre-delivery department, so as the cars came over from Geelong on train or on boat, they were cleaned up here. Any repairs that needed to be done, they did here, and then they were sent off to the local dealerships.
Yeah, awesome. Like I remember when we were talking earlier, you turned around and said that some of the cars that actually come across here or through here, through stories of your uncle or something like that, and they used to have gunshot wounds in it too because of being on the train.
That's right.
I remember that from when we were talking about, let's check that in there, it'd be good to have a chat about it.
Yeah, so some stories goes that as the cars came over on the train across the Nullarbor and through central Australia, some of the local farmers used to take shots at the cars, just a bit of target practice, and when they came here, they used to get repaired, repainted, fixed up, and then sent off to the dealerships.
You can just imagine that getting delivered with holes in the car looking like Swiss cheese, but that's fine. Yeah. So with the car, you said it took you 6 years. So tell us about the process. How did you find the restoration and people who helped you, all those kind of things. So what was it? How was your story about that?
Well, I've heard a lot of, I guess, nightmare stories about people who've done full restorations with their cars, and I was like, I'd never done one before, but I was lucky to have a couple of friends. One very close friend of mine, Dean, he'd been working on his HK Monaro project for a number of years and had just finished that, so I'd learnt a lot from him about what to do, who to speak to, that kind of stuff. Being a Holden, obviously this process differed a little bit to mine, with slightly different people, but I consider myself pretty lucky. I had a very positive experience.
Oh, that's good.
I did a bit of research in the beginning. I met a great spray painter and panel beater in Frank Hoover at Frank's Custom Garage in Kelmscott, who did the beautiful panel and paint.
Absolutely.
Pretty happy with that. Even though it cost me a fortune, Frank. But do it once, do it properly, and absolutely, you won't ever have to do it again. So he got this for me, and then I took it home and started putting it together with the help of another really good friend, Rob Perfumi from Prestige Auto Electrics in Osborne Park. He was quite pivotal in helping me get it right because he had a lot of experience with early Falcons, whereas even though I'd been around early Falcons all my life, I had never put one together myself. So he was instrumental, really. And then the process took a long time because I wanted to get it perfect. Being my grandfather's car, I wanted to get it spot on. So everything that needed to be fixed was fixed. Whether it was zinc plated or painted or powder coated or polished, everything went back on the car perfectly.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, you said your dad had a major part to do with this. Of course, we've seen pictures of your dad bringing the car out of the car. So what is your dad's role in this, and how did he start you off, and how did that end up coming about with the budget and everything?
So in the beginning, Dad was quite involved in the discussions about what he wanted to do with the car. It was quite sentimental to him, obviously, because he'd spent his whole life in the car or around the car. So we sat down, we set ourselves a budget. Initially the idea was to get the car repaired enough to get it back on the road and licensed. However, once we started, I wanted to take it further. So the initial budget we sat down and we thought $50,000 might have been enough, but that wasn't enough. I don't know what the final figure was, but it definitely wasn't $50,000. But as far as my wife's concerned, it's $50,000.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, but the control things that you've done through everything, from the tyres, the engine, the interior, everything like that. I mean, this has got a 170 pursuit in it. So tell us about the rear build of that, because I even remember you saying that.
Yes, that's right. So on the farm up in Kalamunda, when I got the car didn't have the original motor. We had a replacement motor because I guess back in the day it was just easier to put a replacement motor in there than mess around fixing the motor. But fortunately, as farmers tend to do, they don't throw anything out. So we had a bit of a look around the farm. Dad said that he knew where some old engine blocks were, and in one of the old sheds on the farm, under a pile of tyres and timber and other bits and pieces, we found a couple of old engine blocks.
Awesome.
I got the number off the stampings in the engine bay and matched it up with one of the engines there, so that was pretty exciting to find the original engine.
Yeah, perfect.
So we pulled that out, sent that off to Evan at Save Automotives, who rebuilt the engine for me, and really happy with the engine. I don't know the exact specs of what he did, but I imagine it was honed out and probably a slight door to it, I'm not sure, because it does feel quite powerful for what it is. So I think he's done a little bit of work to the inside, but it drives beautifully and really happy with it. The gearbox was fully rebuilt by Aldo up at AD Diffs in Balcatta. Great guy, gentleman, really helpful, and the gears shift beautifully, and I just love the way it drives.
Perfect. And these cars when they first came out, they weren't never very powerful anyway. But how much brake horsepower was something like this got? Was it at the time?
Yeah, the book says they were good for about 90, 95 brake horsepower. Which is not much in today's specs. But it did the job back then, and it does a great job now cruising around. And it's got it's not slow, and it actually surprises me how powerful it can be when you need to get going. So it drives beautifully. The suspension's a bit floaty and all that. The roads back then, a lot of the build, I suppose, it was designed for roads in a lot worse condition than today. So it floats a little bit on the road, but it drives beautifully.
And most of these cars too, they end up being on farms out in the country, all those things. So that's what they were used for, and then also used around city life, of course. But we had a couple of people come through this morning and stuff like that and said, well, we've seen all sorts of different colours but never seen a red one. So tell us about the colouring of the car and all the background of that.
The colour is we repainted in the factory correct colour, which is Ford Waratah red. And the roof is the white merino white. Inside the car, it's the correct red fabric, vinyl with fabric pattern fabric inserts. I guess red. You don't see too many red cars in this era. Australia was, I imagine, a bit more of a conservative place back in the 60s, and you would have seen a lot of beiges and pastel colours, greys, whites, creams. For a Italian immigrant to buy a bright red car, it's a bit strange. But I'm glad he did, because it's beautiful.
Well, you never know, it might have been anything that was on the lot at the time when you don't know.
When he decided he wanted to buy a car, he went there and they did a good deal like this.
Absolutely. And like everything that's in the car, like you said, down to full factory specs, right even down to the tyre bays and things like that. You mentioned earlier too that the tyres that you got them special order from the US because you couldn't find them inside of Australia. So tell us about that process and how you got them.
So I wanted to make it look correct with the proper full white wall tyres. The range available in radials is very limited. You can't get full white wheels in radials, I don't believe. You can just get white line tyres, and even that's becoming limited as well. So, back in the 60s, the tyre that would have came out was a cross-ply tyre. 6.5 inch by 13 inch cross-ply. So the tyres that it's wearing at the moment are the Silvertown cross-plies, and they were from America. But I really think it helps to finish off the look of the car.
Absolutely. It suits it down to it too.
And you know, I've got a spare set of radials that I was going to put on there thinking that these don't really drive too well, but I love the way it drives.
Perfect.
And no issue at the moment. So I don't drive fast, it's a bit of a problem. But it drives nice.
No problem at all. So with your car, you've got a lot of chrome on a car like these cars used to always do. So how much re-chroming did you have to do, and how much could you actually save out of the original lot of chrome?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky that some of the chrome was okay because the car had been garaged all its life, but pretty much even chrome, once the surface sort of opens up, then the cast aluminium starts to kick underneath. So I was lucky. Most of the internal chrome, the door handles and all that, they cleaned up pretty well. The external door handles were good, but I did have to get the bumpers sent off for re-chroming, and for that I have to thank Charlie Vinci at Custom Chrome up in Malaga. He did a really good job, and it's great that we've got someone back in the local chroming industry here in Perth. But a lot of the chrome, especially these ornaments here, all the chrome emblem on the side there, that's the original. The strips down the side there, stainless steel, so they polished up really well, and I did all that myself. It was just too expensive to send it off to someone, and then you have to wait like 6 or 8 weeks, and then you run the risk of them losing bits and pieces. So for a couple $100, I went and bought a few bits and pieces and set myself up in the garage, and for a couple of hours, a night here and there, and I polished up all the steel, so the trim all the trims around the door frames, around the back, and so now, along the front of the bonnet there as well. So just watched heaps of YouTube videos about tapping out all the dents and repairing all the scratches and that. It's come up well.
The original, is that the original number plate, or is that an aftermarket one for you?
The original number plate. Because it was a Colourwonder car, the original number plate was KN531.
Okay,
That wasn't available anymore. So put the U in front of it.
Fair enough then. Still works out well. So still almost classic to where it was. Absolutely. And you also mentioned that you've got a set of Kennard roof racks that you've had in your garage for a long time, haven't used them, but now you've got them, and they do suit the car to a T. So tell us a bit more about that.
For some reason, when I was younger, I go outside or something, and I saw this set of roof racks for sale, and I can't remember how much I paid for it, $10 or $20. But at the time I thought they were interesting, and I bought them, and I put them away, and I've never seen another set like them. They're a genuine set of Kennard roof racks. So before Kennard became the hire company that it is today, they used to do apparently car accessories in the late 60s, early 70s. And the cast aluminium roof racks are one of those products. And I had them, and I put them on the car, and I thought they looked pretty cool, and I like them, and stayed there. So they weren't original to the vehicle, but I had them, and I think they look great.
Well, they look period correct as far as I'm concerned, so that's what counts.
More of a late 60s, early 70s, but people had these cars for a long time, and they added accessories as they went, and I think they look great.
Not a drama at all. Okay, well what we're going to do is let's go around and have a look at little bits and pieces about the car. Okay Joe, so let's talk more about this 170 Pursuit. Tell us a bit more about it. Are these the factory colours that it came out in?
Yep. So like you mentioned earlier, it's the matching numbers engine at 170 cubic inch Ford Pursuit motor, inline 6 obviously. The block is painted the factory correct sage green metallic. And for a 170 Pursuit motor, you have the creamy yellow air filter housing and rocker cover as well.
Oh, awesome. And what's that bag for? Is that the overflow or is that for the windscreen?
No, a lot of people think it's the overflow bag, but it's actually the water reservoir for the windscreen wiper washers.
Okay.
So you can see the hoses go through to the jets there. They were dealer accessories at the time, and it's got a little foot pump that goes through to the firewall, and then there's a wire connected to the wipers. So if you want to use the intermittent wipers and you just want to give the windscreen a bit of a wash, you press that foot pedal, it squirts water and then activates the wipers at the same time.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
pretty nifty. Yeah, absolutely. And what kind of other optional extras did your grandfather actually get for in his vehicle that you know of?
As far as I'm aware, optional extras at the time were the washers, the washer bag, the fender ornaments, they were optional.
Okay.
There's a radio, radio antenna, that was optional as well. He went for the deluxe, so the deluxe package was I guess an option in itself above the standard, and it came with a few extras like the fabric seats and ashtray and cigarette lighter and stuff like that. But yeah, the only options that I'm aware of were the ones that you see, which are the ornaments, the radio, the washer bag. What else was there? Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah. Well, the engine's definitely nice and clean, and you've set it up very well. I see that you've also put all the factory stickers back on the car through everywhere, including the battery. You've got an original sticker for the battery as well that came out.
Yeah, I've got a good quality battery from Rob at Prestige Auto Electrics. I think it's a good child or one of the ones, good ones that he uses. And I just stripped all their stickers off there. It was the right size.
Perfect.
And I put one of the Ford Falcon Power Punch stickers on there to make it look sort of authentic, factory correct. And and then there's a couple of people that are making the reproduction stickers as well. So I think I got this set off Wayne Whiting from Classic Falcon Spares. Great guy, a real expert when it comes to rebuilding early Falcons and bits and pieces. And other bits and pieces I got from John at Fishop Falcons in South Australia. Another really good guy, very knowledgeable, one of the most friendly guys I've been lucky enough to have helped me. Lucky that there's a small but growing network of early Falcon enthusiasts and part suppliers around Australia.
Yeah, no drama. Like I see it's got the single master cylinder, so obviously it's running on drum brakes.
Yes.
How do you find being on drum brakes all the way around?
Drum brakes, people think, oh no good. But I spent a lot of time rebuilding the brakes myself, learning how to do it with the help of Rob. And once you get them set up correctly, wow, they really work.
Awesome.
So had rebuilt the master cylinder myself.
Cool.
And because you can buy the rebuild kits, I think it was already sleeved. Had previously been sleeved with a stainless steel sleeve, so that was easy to do. I didn't get the original slave cylinders in the wheels rebuilt. I bought new slave cylinders. I might get the originals rebuilt one day.
Okay.
Used all the original brake hoses, had all them rezinked and I cleaned them out and had them rezinked.
Perfect.
Daryl up at Osborne Platers in Osborne Park really helped me through the whole process with all my zinc plating. He was a great guy. Once the disc brakes are set up well, the drum brakes, not this, I wish I had this. Once the drum brakes are set up well, it stops beautifully. No drama.
Absolutely.
You got to give yourself a little bit more time, and they're not power assisted. There's no booster or anything, but they work well.
No, perfect. I see that you've also got this filter in here. Why did you put that one in?
This is a Tef filter that I've just put into the top hose of the radiator. I put that in initially when I first started to drive the car because I imagine that there's still a bit of gunk in the engine block, and I didn't want that getting into my beautifully restored radiator. I check it out. It's got a little filter, and stainless steel filter inside with a magnet as well, so it catches little bits of debris. But I think most of the gunk's out of there now, and I may leave it in there, or I may take it off later.
Yeah, fair enough.
Once I'm confident that the system's nice and clean. But
yeah,
I mean, with these small engines, they have a very small water capacity by modern standards. I think it only holds about 6 or 7 litres of water.
Yeah.
When it's working the way it should, I think it's fine. But it's only got a 2-core radiator, which is the original radiator.
Yep.
And you don't want those blocking up, because then it affects the cooling performance.
Of course.
And then the engine starts to overheat, and then you have overheating problems, obviously.
Yeah, not a problem at all. I mean, like as we can see, the paintwork and everything is done immaculate, even in the engine bay. The wiring is done pristine all the way through, with all the harnesses and everything like that.
Yeah, I have to thank Mitch from Pilec over in Melbourne. I sent my original harnesses over to him.
Yep.
And he rebuilt them to factory spec.
Oh, perfect.
And they fit back into the car perfectly.
So with the suspension, when we talked about that as well, are you still running the kind of original coils and everything else that was in that? Yeah,
all the original parts. So the front springs, the front coils, the rear leafs.
Yep.
Took them all out, cleaned them up. I chose the powder coating option over paint.
Yep.
Originally they were painted, but that started to chip very easily when we started to put stuff back on. And I thought, I'll bugger this. So sent everything off to Bill at S&S Powder Coaters in Osborne Park.
Yep.
Another lovely guy, really helpful, and he just helped me get everything powder coated. I mean, even stuff. So most of the parts, suspension parts, were just powder coated the correct factory satin black. But there were a lot of parts on the car that were left as raw cast iron, like the engine stuff that you can't see, but the engine mounts and some of the drag links. I used a matte clear powder coat.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So they look factory correct in the cast raw iron, the raw cast iron.
Yeah.
However, they won't develop that layer of surface rust.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. Okay, great. Well, let's go have a look at the rest of the interior.
Great.
Okay, Joe, so let's talk about the interior of the car. So tell me a bit more about the gauges and the dashes and everything like that. Is everything original in the car?
Yeah, pretty much, Phil. So it's XL Falcon gauge cluster, factory, well, not factory correct, but they were fitted by dealers, but the original radio, period correct fan, the seats, like I said, original fabric on the seats. That was trim code 34, which was the metallic vinyl with cloth inserts.
Yep.
The only non-original thing I've got on there, you can see that there's the little, that's an engine guard. So that little device I've just wired up just to give me a bit of confidence with engine temperatures and voltage. Yeah, engine, I did a big drive up to Bindoon recently with a friend of mine, and it sat on 75 degrees all the way there.
Yeah, awesome.
And that was I think it was about 36 or 37 degree day, and the generator charges beautifully at a nice steady 14 and a half volts. So I can't complain. It's all running the way it should.
Yeah, perfect. Now I remember you talking about the actual the floor. It's not carpet; it's actual vinyl, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
So how did you go about sourcing that?
Okay, so I've got these floor mats on here. But the car originally had a rubber floor.
Yep.
You see, reproduction carpet floors are a lot easier to get, but I wanted to do as original.
Yep.
And I was lucky to get put in touch with a guy. Can't remember his name now, but the company was called Obsolete Mats.
Yep.
And the story goes that he purchased some of the original molds from Ford and Holden and Chrysler back in the day.
Yep.
And one of those molds that he had was for an XL.
Awesome.
So I was lucky that I was able to order, and I had to wait quite a while. But he made the correct black rubber floor.
Yeah, not a problem. And the fabric looks like it actually was original factory trim.
Yeah.
How did the trimmer go about sourcing that material?
So again, I was really lucky. I got put in contact with a guy called Paul from Super Trim in Coburg over in Victoria. Another really nice guy. I believe he's a third generation motor trimmer.
Oh, awesome.
So the fabric that you see in the car now is the correct fabric for the car. But even more than that, I believe it's new old stock fabric, which Paul's grandfather or father managed to buy surplus of from Ford when they were doing their regular clean outs after so many years. And yeah, so he made me up the seat covers and sent them over. And then a local trimmer, another really nice guy, Gil from WA Auto and Marine Trimming in Canning Vale. He helped to tear down the original seats, restore the original frames. There was a couple of broken springs and a bit of rust here and there, and he repaired them, strengthened the springs, rebuilt them back as original with the correct hessian and fabric and everything, and you know, put them back in, and they're a little bit firm and a little bit higher than original, I think, but that's only because they need to settle. Absolutely. But they're very supportive, and I've not seen another car with this sort of combination of red on red. So it's definitely a good combination. And look, like you said, when we talked about the colour of the car being a bit different that everyone's commented on already, that just ties in with that. So makes the car even more valuable, as well as what we were talking about before. So let's go through around the car and tell us a bit more about some of the other features you had to do. So we've got the Ford genuine Venetian blinds in the back. They really help to finish the car off. They're the correct 10 blade Venetians. You can get reproduction ones now that have only got 8 blades, but these are the genuine original Ford ones. The car didn't have a set of spats on it, but I always loved the look of spats, and I was lucky to get my hands on a genuine set of Foxcraft spats out of the US. Awesome. The car also had, actually, when you asked me about one of the some of the factory options or dealer options, the dress rings too. So they're the original or the standard wheel caps. But these are the optional dress rings. That came with the car. So they help finish it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Just make it very nice and shiny right the way through. Absolutely perfect. Awesome. And I see that you're an East Fremantle supporter, but your car says South Fremantle, mate. That's right. Yeah, that's a bit ironic, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So, yeah, the car obviously is red and white for the Bulldogs, love the East Fremantle Sharks. The boys, my boys, play a bit of footy there as well, and cool. And just absolutely. Well, you're in the area and supported them, so why not? Exactly. It's all good. Just happens to be the colour of the car. That's it. Bit of rivalry when you're driving it. That's all right. That's right. Excellent. Confuses a few people. So let's have a look at the back of the car then. And tell us a bit more about the back end and what you've had to done here. And I think you've also repaired some of the original springs in the back of the tailgate. I'll show you how that works. So this is how it would have looked 1962. We've got the original winder. Perfect. You need to wind down the glass before you can open up the tailgate. Now the tailgate comes with a clever feature. This as a single piece, it's pretty heavy. With the regulator, the sheet metal, and the glass. So Ford designed a way where to make it easier to open and close. There's a system with the straps, and underneath the floor there's a spring, so it's a bit, I guess it's counterbalanced, and I think Ford advertised it as a feature to help the ladies back in the day. In the 60s, the ladies were obviously petite and didn't want to get there, lift too many heavy things, but this makes it easier to lift and to lower. There's a guy who I found through Facebook who made the reproduction springs and straps. Paul Brandon, I think his name is, and very helpful guy. And so we've got the tailgate working as it should, and it's great. It looks perfect, and it's solid, so that's the main thing. And you've also got the original esky that your grandfather owned, and period correct picnic basket. And a picnic basket, which I just keep all my cloths and emergency stuff in. And the 1960s Mally's esky to go with the car as well. Yeah, absolutely. No, perfect. That's very well. Like I said, everything you've got on the car is just original, It's classical. Everything's iconic. This screams Australian car back then as well, you know. And it's one of those cars that are going to stand out because, like, everyone's got the XWs, XYs, XAs onwards, whereas XPs and before, they were kind of, it's a select market at the moment.
Yeah. Not
as many people have them.
Yeah, the early Falcons have been, I guess, forgotten and not recognised for a long time. But with the values of the XWs to XCs, and you know, they're a bit unattainable at the moment. So these early Falcons are really starting to get the attention that they've probably missed out on, and definitely deserve. Beautiful cars. You know, they were built in a time in Australia's history. It's really important to have a locally manufactured car. The XK Falcon in 1960 was the first, you know, the first full car that Ford Australia built.
Yep.
And you know, that continued all the way to 2016. So
yeah, awesome.
The early Falcons were very, very, very important for Ford Australia's history.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And look, at the end of the day, this is such a classical car. It's just everything. Like, I remember back in the day, people were driving around on these things, tailgate down, kids in the back. You know, the car doesn't have the seat belts, but I think we talked about that earlier. That the car didn't actually come out with them. However, that's something that you're looking at putting in as a retrofit.
Yeah, so being an early 60s car, seat belts weren't mandatory at the time, but it does have seatbelt anchor points in the floor.
Yep.
During the panel and paint process, we welded in plates in the B pillars.
Yeah.
I've already had a couple of conversations with Seatbelt Solutions in Welshpool about doing up some correct looking seatbelts, which we're getting fabric samples for now.
Oh, perfect.
And as soon as and buckles as well. Want to make sure we get something that looks right. And you know, the fact that I've got 4 kids, you know, just makes it a bit safer to have seatbelts in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially even today, at the moment, with the amount of traffic that we have on our roads now, this is something that it's a mandatory kind of thing. You're going to have it, you know, to be safe. Yeah. Be safe. Awesome. Okay. So as far as like, you know, the rest of the car, I mean, we can see it's still got the old ashtrays, which some people have kept in and stuff like that. Not that it's big these days, but back in the day, well, a lot of people used them for smoking, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there was a time in history when smoking was considered as normal as anything else, and you know, people smoked, and the car has 2 ashtrays and a cigarette lighter because that's what cars had to have. So yeah, it's got the original ashtrays in the car and original cigarette lighter. And
perfect. And you've also, is that a reproduction fan in the centre there?
It is. It's a reproduction fan. It looks period correct, but it's
absolutely
just a little $30 job off eBay.
Hey, at the end of the day, that was the old air conditioning back in the day, wasn't it? Yeah. So
although the cars were designed, you know, when air conditioning probably wasn't even a thing.
Yep.
So the ventilation in the car works fantastic. You know, you've got the quarter vent windows, which you can, you know, anyone with an old car will know how great they work. You can
perfect, aren't they?
You put the tailgate down a 1/4 inch and the air flows through. You open up the little doors under the dash. They're hard to see, but there's little boxes under the dash.
Yep.
And that was your airflow. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, I've driven it in some pretty hot weather, and it's been great. Doesn't have a heater. Was never fitted with a heater.
Yep.
But I'm not going to be driving it when it's cold and when it's
well, at the end of the day, most of the time, these cars, especially when you rebuild them like this, as soon as it starts to get that kind of weather, it goes in the garage and it gets protected.
It's not scared to get wet. I have been caught in a few light showers before, but yeah, I won't be driving it in a downpour.
Yeah.
Especially not with the cross-ply tyres.
Yeah, not a drama.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, we've got your kids here today as well, mate.
Yeah.
So who have we got here?
2 of my boys, Christian and Matthew. They helped me a fair bit during the resto. Matthew was only 2 or 3 when the resto started. And
yeah, fair enough.
Now he's 8 years old, so
yeah, wow,
a bit of time's passed.
Absolutely. So how did you guys enjoy the process?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did you help out?
Yeah.
Awesome. So what kind of stuff were you doing?
We were like sandpapering bits.
Yeah.
When I was 3, I stuck, when it was only the body, I stuck the head through the
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, wire wheel. Christian cleaned up the bumper. They, clean up old parts with grease and grime and stuff like that. So it's good to have them involved. Yeah.
absolutely.
Now they're not allowed near the car without me. But,
Yeah, fair enough. Not when it looks like this. You don't want any kind of scratches on.
But they're pretty good. Fingers crossed. So.
Yeah. Joe, so you had your dad involved in the process early on, you were talking about the budget and things like that.
Yep.
So at what point did he stay involved, or did he back away from it, or things like that?
Yeah, so once the ball started rolling on the project, I kept sort of Dad away because I had in my mind that I wanted to do it as a surprise to him.
Oh, awesome.
I had no idea it was going to take so long. But initially, when I thought it was only going to be sort of 1 or 2 years, I wanted to do it and then surprise him with it.
Yeah.
I guess as the years went on, he probably thought it was never going to get finished, and he might maybe have forgotten about it. But so Dad, never spoke to him about it, rarely spoke to him about it, never showed him any pictures or anything.
Yeah.
But then when it was all finished and licensed and back on the road, I took it to the All Ford Day in October last year, October 21. And the night before, I rang Dad and I said, meet me down at Basildine Oval. And that's when I presented it back to Dad. I showed him and took him for a drive. And then he stayed with me down at the show for a few hours. And we were chatting to people as they were coming up and commenting on the car.
Yeah, awesome. That would have been a massive shock for him, looking at this, bringing all these memories back of his childhood, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and he was, he doesn't give much away emotionally, but I could tell that he was happy and proud, and it was nice. So, and we've been for a couple of drives since, and I think Dad loves it, loves seeing it, loves talking about it. Really proud of it, and it's a bit of, it's a big piece of our family history, and I'm glad that it's still with us. And if these boys look after it, then it'll be four generations.
Yeah, awesome. Being the fact that they've been in the family ever since 1963, when you started the purchase, it's a tribute to the family. It's like we see with a lot of people, by the time the car gets to a certain age, half the time when they're on farms or orchards and things like that, they sit down and paint, and no one ever rebuilds them. They never get used. That's it. Yeah. That's their life, don't it?
Yeah, no, that's true. So there would have been a point in time when this car would have been as well as the value. And as people do, they trade in, they sell, they get something new. But I was just lucky that the car was kept in family and cherished by all the family members.
Perfect.
It was good.
So as far as the rebuild, you've mentioned a few people already that you've found. Is there other people that you want to mention?
Yes, I'll start. So as I mentioned earlier, Frank Rubin from Frank's Classic Garage did the panel and paint, rust repairs. I've got to thank. First I thank my mum and dad, who were the inspiration. Got to thank my wife and my kids, who were quite patient with me through the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I started the project, had 2 kids. By the end of it, we had 4 kids.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of a few distractions along the way.
Yeah.
Then Frank Rubin did the panel and paint. Rob, whom I mentioned, he was really instrumental for me. Lifetime friend now. He helped me finish it off to this level. So apart from driving around the country, Wayne Whiting from Classic Falcon Spares, John from Fisher Falcons South Australia, really great guys. Charlie Vince, who did the chrome from Custom Chrome. Osmond Plating helped me with all the zinc plating. They were really patient with me and sort of bringing in little bits and pieces to get done. Done again. Who else was there? Aldo from 80 Gifts in Balcatta. Gearbox from here, awesome. Gary Mason from Custom Exhaust in Osmond Park. Exhaust from as well. Super Trim in Melbourne, like I mentioned, the seat covers from them. Gil from WA Auto and Marine Trimming helped me with the interior of getting the seats right. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody, because there's a lot of people that helped me along the way. I already thanked my mum, so I get brownie points for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people and a lot of good friends now.
Yeah, absolutely. So now are you getting out? Are you part of a club? Are you enjoying it with them?
Yeah, look, I'm a member of the Veterans and Classic Car Club of WA. I think it's one of the biggest. It's a non-mark specific car club.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, actually, they're a group of people I really need to thank as well. They've got a great restoration shed and parts sort of sheds as well, and a lot of old elder members that have got great experience and knowledge with these cars.
Yeah.
And it's just great to be part of the club. The Falcon, the Falcons of WA, which is a club that Rob Lafouve is putting together.
Yep.
Since I've got it back on the road in October last year, I've put about 1,600 miles on it, which is, over 2,000 kilometres.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely driving it and enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what they're there for.
That's what they're for.
They've got to get out and do what they need to do.
I've been through Bunnings a few times, got the roof off, picked up some timber, run through the drive-through, and we've got to drive through with the kids.
Yeah.
That's something I wouldn't have done with the car. I wouldn't have been anywhere near here shopping centres with it.
I mean, I am paranoid to hell about getting it scratched and damaged, but there's, just the thought of putting so much of your time and passion into something and not enjoying it doesn't make sense. So I like to drive it whenever the moment's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, being that the fact that it's been a one family owned car for all this time, is definitely going to put value on that car. Not that you'll probably ever sell it, but the fact that it did hit the market, it's definitely worth its value in gold.
Oh, maybe. I mean, these cars aren't big ticket cars like the GTs and GTSs and
of course,
stuff. But look, for me it's priceless. It'll always be priceless. Barring some huge unforeseen event, it'll never be for sale.
Yeah.
And I'll just enjoy it until for as long as I can.
Ah, perfect. Well, look, you've done a sensational job. Real good credit for you. And what we'll do is let's go take it for a ride. See how she goes. Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Phil.
No problem. Okay, guys, we're going for a cruise with Joe in this beautiful station wagon. So, Joe, earlier you were telling me that you tuned all the engine up yourself. You got everything done that needed to be done on the engine as side as making sure it runs perfectly.
Yep.
Tell us a bit more about that.
So when after the rebuild had finished, the engine was running, but after the rebuild and once I'd started driving it, it just never felt right. Once we'd started to get the miles on it. So with the advice from Rob and just the standard Ford workshop manual from the time, I just followed the process for setting the idle speed, fuel mixture, setting the gaps on the valves, using a vacuum gauge to set the timing, and she runs beautifully. Like
absolutely.
For a 1962 car with just a little 170 cubic inch motor, which is 2.5 litres and 95 horsepower. She goes great. I love it.
She's definitely like a smooth ride. There's nothing wrong with it at all.
It's, I love it. I really do. Once you sort of squeeze in under the steering wheel, because it's about a big wagon wheel steering wheel.
Of course, as they used to make them.
Because there's no power steering. But even the steering, so just a very simple steering box, but following the manual to adjust the the amount of slack in the steering. It's quite precise. It's precise enough for what you need it for. So it's great.
Perfect.
So,
absolutely. I mean, like at the end of the day, everything you've done on the vehicle is sensational. Like we've said before, it drives like a dream. It's nice and cruisy. Yeah, it's all good. It feels at home being in Freo area. Being that the fact there's probably, do you know what dealership it was actually sold from at the time?
Okay, another connection with down in Freo. So the car was bought at Mortlock Brothers Ford.
Okay,
Now,
yeah.
they had a dealership in South Fremantle.
Yep.
And they also had a dealership on Adelaide Terrace in the city.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know exactly which dealership it was bought from, but it was definitely bought from Mortlock Brothers Ford.
Yep.
And more than likely the city dealership, but they had the dealership here in South Fremantle. So again, a little bit of a connection with Fremantle as well.
Yeah,
so,
not a problem.
Yeah.
So did your grandfather live around the Freo area, or where was he living?
So my grandfather, they settled when they came over after the war. They settled up in Kalamunda.
Okay, yep.
Had an orchard up there, which my father still has today. And yeah, so my grandfather, you know, when he decided that he wanted to, you know, reward himself with a new car, he drove down from Kalamunda down the hill into the city with his sons and bought the car, drove it back up to Kalamunda, and that's where it spent its life, up in Kalamunda.
Wow,
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got some photos of the tractor pulling out of the car. Was that your dad driving the tractor?
Yeah, so Dad, so when we started the resto, the car wasn't running and it was parked at my grandmother's house on the orchard.
Yep.
So it needed to be the flatbed. Leo from 0 Degree Tilt, he's another guy I want to thank too. He's done a couple of transports for me. So he came out to Kalamunda, but he couldn't get the truck down there. So Dad brought the tractor down, pulled the truck up, the car up the driveway onto the road, and then we put it on the flatbed, and then yeah, went down to start the restoration. You know.
Yeah, awesome. Nah, perfect. Like with the photos that you showed me of before you restored it, paint definitely looked faded.
Yep.
Definitely dusty.
Yep. Bit of rust in the well.
Yeah, and the engine was sitting in the garage.
Right, yeah. So
out of the vehicle, wasn't it?
Yeah, so well, the engine that was in the car wasn't the original engine at the time that I got the car.
Yep.
Back in the day when an engine started playing up or was, you know, a bit oily, or, you know, you just pulled it out and put another one in from a later model.
Yep.
I didn't actually think that the original motor was still around, but one day Dad found a couple of motors in one of the old sheds on the farm.
Yep.
So I went through all the engines and matched up the numbers in the engine bay to one of the blocks on the engines on the farm, and thank God it was the original engine that had been pulled out and just dumped, you know, put away. There was nothing wrong with it, but maybe, you know, like I said, it was a lot easier back then to buy another car, or, you know, a wrecked car, and pull the engine out and put that in. Of course.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot easier back in the day. That's what we used to do.
Exactly.
We just used to grab another restored engine and put it in. We didn't think about keeping it numbers matching.
No, that's right. It wasn't important back then. You know? Can you imagine all the cars that used to go through? You know how Repco used to have that engine exchange service?
Yeah.
Imagine all the cars now. They're GTs that didn't have the original.
Absolutely.
Models. So back to the engine. So yeah, once we found the block, then you know, Dad hooked up the tractor with a long bar because we couldn't reach it at the time, and then yeah, sent the engine off to get rebuilt, and yeah, and you know, I don't know how long it was out of the car, maybe 20-30 years, but now it's back in its spiritual home in the car.
Yeah, perfect. It's done well.
Yeah. So that was lucky.
Yeah.
And now I get to enjoy it. It's a nice tight engine. Another guy that I just remembered. So Evan from Sabre Automotive.
Yep.
He rebuilt the engine for me.
Okay. Yep.
At the time, I just didn't have the knowledge to rebuild an engine. If I was to do it again, I'd probably give it a go, knowing now how simple these engines are. But at the time, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yep.
And I'm glad that I got it done professionally, because the engine just runs sweet. It's nice and tight. It's good on the fuel economy and getting about 25 miles a gallon.
Yep.
So everything's running as it should. I mean, there's nothing to stop me if I wanted to drive this car every day to work. You know?
Yeah, well, that's just it. And she definitely nothing wrong with her at all. She bloody drives nice. She brakes nice. She's changing the gears perfectly. Yep. No clunking, no nothing.
Oh, actually, mentioning gears. Okay, another guy, Aldo at AD Diffs in Balcatta. Nicest guy you'll meet. He helped me rebuild the gearbox.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, really. And the gearbox just runs beautifully. And yeah, I did try to do that bit myself, pulled it apart. I had 1,000 pieces that I didn't know where to put back.
Yep.
And then I took a box of parts to Aldo and said, mate, can you help me?
Yep.
And he put it all back together for me.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Ah, awesome, awesome. So how do you kids like riding in the back here, eh?
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
Yeah, they slide around in the back on corners, no seatbelts yet. But
Yeah, but that's all right.
We'll
That's
get
the
them
fun
in
of the riding in these old cars, isn't it?
exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
Like I said, I remember driving around in my pop's old car, and that was just great. You know, it was just a perfect old car.
Well, cars didn't go so fast back then. No one was in such a rush, you know. I mean, obviously the world's changed, and I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but yeah, when you get into a car like this, you don't have to speed. You just go, drive, enjoy it. You know?
They're made for cruising now, aren't they?
Cruising.
That's it.
You know, you don't need aircon. You know, all the the ventilation works. You know, it's great.
I love the old quarter windows that the Fords used to have. You pop them open and bring them out,
and then
instant air.
And you get the air straight away. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wherever you want it, you got it.
Exactly.
No, it was always good, especially on those the kind of misty days where the windscreen used to fog up. You used to redirect it to where you needed to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Beautiful.
No. But as you can see, she drives, streams, she just floats along the road, and that's what you want as a car.
Yeah, I love it. I really love it. The steering's nice, suspension's nice. It's a little bit higher than I probably anticipated, but I haven't done anything to the springs, so if that's the original height, then that's the original height.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I mean, like you've said before, the roads weren't made perfect back then, so
no, that's right.
They probably did make them a lot higher, so that way it had that clearance.
Exactly.
And 9 times out of 10, people were using these out in the bush.
Exactly.
So it would have been perfect for that.
Yep, exactly. That's right. A lot of ruts and ditches and
all the old grids.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, you're right. They needed a clearance because a lot of these were used out in the country. And once you loaded up a family of 6, they probably sagged a little bit. So you needed to allow for that.
Absolutely. Nah. But it drives well, like I said, drives sensationally well. The engine sounds strong. It doesn't seem to be any problem with that at all. It's a good old ride.
Original radio works. One thing I have done, which I didn't mention earlier, is I like, seeing as it's running the original electric system, so a generator. So I wanted to take a little bit of pressure off that. So I've replaced pretty much every globe on the car with LEDs. So a guy called Anthony at Classic and Vintage Bulbs in South Australia, he helped me. You can go on eBay and get LEDs, but I wanted decent quality stuff, and so it's got an LED conversion kit in the original headlights. All the tail lights, indicators are all LEDs. And they just really give a nice bright glow. So in a car like this with small tail lights, you want them to work and be bright, and so they all work well, and it just helps to not draw so much off the generator.
Absolutely. And as far as given the fact that it is an old car and it runs off that old generators type style, battery wise, all good. Don't have a problem with it ever.
I hook it up to a trickle charger when I'm not driving it, so no real issues with the battery. Rob at Prestige Auto, he gave me one of his he hooked me up with a top battery. I peeled all the stickers off and put the reproduction Ford stickers on there, just to make it look original. But I guess once it's on the trickle charger and it never gets a chance to go flat, then she should be okay.
Perfect.
But the generator, look, I've got the little gauge here, so you can see it's charging at a nice 13.5 volts. It gets
perfect.
Car sitting on 63 degrees, so the cooling's working nice, even though it's not a particularly hot day. So awesome.
Alright, Joe, well look, sensational car. Appreciate you talking to us here at Aussie Garage and everything you've done today. We've gone through it from top to toe. We've given it a bit of a drive around. It looks great. You've done a really good job. Your family will be proud of you for what you've done to the car. And the fact that it's back on the road. It's part of Australian history, which is perfect. Look, it's a credit to you and everyone else that helped you get it back on the road to where it is right now. And look, we just thank you for being on our show and going from there. Look, is there anything else that you want to add to what we've already gone through with the car? Anything like that?
I think I remembered most of the information I wanted to share.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you, Phil, and the Aussie Garage channel for giving me an opportunity to share the story about my car.
Yeah.
I am really proud of it. I do love it a lot, and I'm just going to be driving it, you know, a lot. The car was only registered in October last year, but I've already got, you know, about 1,500 miles on it. So
cool.
You know, it's about 100 kilometres a week, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely enjoying it. And,
Perfect.
but I'll probably put it away for winter once, you know, when it rains.
As we
heavy.
all do.
Yeah.
As we all do.
But yeah, if you see me out on the roads, give me a thumbs up, and yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no, sounds
Thanks very
good.
much.
Sounds good. And the other thing too is, if you guys are out there that know any more information about the Matilda Bay or these kind of vehicles, hey, give us a shout out. Talk to us at Aussie Garage. Send us a comment. Let's go from there. We're even happy to come out and interview you guys about your car. So feel free. Comment below. Talk to us as much as you can. Thanks for that, guys.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Funny story time. When Papa and Nono were driving in the car, and when they got out, Nono was so nervous he pulled the door handle.
Oh no.